Evernauts. Welcome to our very first AMA in Spaces with Everdome CEO Jeremy Lopez. I'm Samir Mourani. I'm the marketing manager here at Everdome, and I'm going to be hosting this milestone AMA for us. And this AMA will be an opportunity for both Jeremy to answer questions about recent developments and also address some of the goals and milestones for a very, very exciting 2024. We should be live for about 40 minutes or so, give or take, taking questions from those who've joined us here today, as well as some questions from our wider community. So, Jeremy, over to you.
Amazing. Thanks, Samir, and thank you everybody for showing up today. This is really exciting for me, and I know for all of us to meet here inside Everdome Spaces, the first of many of one of our AMAs that are going to be happening inside the space. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff that we want to get into and start unpacking. You guys have a lot of questions. We have a lot of stuff, as Samir said, that we've heard from the other people in the community. But rest assured, this isn't, the only one that we're going to be doing here. We just wanted to jump in and test this. You all know we're still in alpha, but we like to try to use the product as much as possible. So getting in here, having a discussion with you guys, it gives us the opportunity to also do product feedback, not only just answer the questions, but there's a whole reciprocity thing that's going on here when we do these kind of things. So it's really nice to stand here with you all. I'm excited to share with you the first ever Astro NFT inside Everdome Spaces. As you can see, I know it's a digital version of myself, but it's kind of odd to have you all just stare at it. So I'm really excited to get into this and start answering some of the questions, you guys. I'll let Samir kick it off, and then please at any time jump in. This is an AMA. Feel free to ask what you want. I'm here. I'm all ears, and I'll answer the questions that I can. And we'll move on from there. Looking forward to this, guys.
Thank you, Jeremy. So before we get to the questions from the community here, I wanted to open things up by talking through some of the questions received from folks who aren't able to join us today. And AI is a very interesting nugget. It seems to come up quite often, and a lot of thought has been around what are the uses of AI in Everdome's metaverse experience, and how can AI ultimately benefit the project as a whole?
Well, Samir's not holding back. I guess we're going to start with one of the big ones, straight with. No, it's good. It's great. AI is obviously something that is in our beliefs and kind of at the core of our business going to be, the future of not only the metaverse, but a lot of technological innovation going forward. So, there was a lot of hype around AI. People were jumping on it last year, trying to use the, just the terminology sometimes to create some hype around their projects. This is something that we decided against doing because we really wanted to grasp and start to understand what it is that we can use it for, how we can use it, and in which kind of timeframes that we'll be able to do that. I'm very comfortable at this point to tell everyone here and anyone that will be watching at a later time that AI is going to be a fundamental part of Everdome going forward. We have every intention, and we've already started to dive into this. There's some things that I will be able to share with you at a little bit later date, but we are already speaking with partners in this area. Very, very deep conversations that we've been having for a while now, some names that you guys will definitely know when they come out. So we're very excited about how we're going to adopt AI into Everdome's platform. Now, this can come in many different ways, and some of the earliest and I guess easiest ways that we can adopt AI is simple communication tools, anything from chatbots to information sharing to education on Everdome itself to the underlying technology that we're going to be using. We know there's a lot of, AI tools that already exist that would allow us to, directly implement them into Everdome. We obviously have our Tree of Life, which is going to be a source of information going forward in headquarters. And so you can, the sky's kind of the limit when you start thinking about how we're going to integrate AI into that area. But going beyond that, artificial intelligence as a core function, a core capability inside Everdome allows our core team already to be able to build, to develop at a faster pace. There's already tooling that we use in our everyday workflow to be able to, speed up development, to bring things to market faster. But our idea and our goal is to be able to use AI to develop tooling and, tool sets that will allow others that come into Everdome to be able to use those tools for your own benefit. So as many of you know, and I know it's a question that comes up later, we're very focused on a creator economy for people that want to come in. They want to spin up spaces. They want to share their ideas, their visions. AI is going to be able to empower this, whether it's through media, through intellectual property, through technology, through tooling. This is going to be a foundational core element of what we're going to be doing going forward. And as we start to unpack those plans and we start to share them with you, you're going to really start to understand just how entrenched and how far we plan to go with artificial intelligence as it pertains not only to the metaverse, but some of the wider plans that we have for the platform of Everdome as a whole as well.
Well, I'm glad you ended on that particular point because thinking about the wider plan and goal for Everdome, a lot of the questions that we were receiving centered around sort of the marketing strategy and how do we expand Everdome's reach. Can you maybe elaborate on our approach in terms of the marketing strategy, when that will be started?
Absolutely. So marketing is a question that we get all the time. And I know it pertains to multiple aspects of the business. We have product marketing, then we have Web3 marketing, which would be related to the project as a whole and the token and such. And so what I can say at this time is we do have very strong core competencies when it comes to marketing, and we will be rolling out marketing plans as we start to move forward. But what I ask right now and what I want to get across to everyone is we want to make sure that the product is in the right place. I'm not saying the product has to be done, but what I'm saying is it needs to have a foundational trust and a scalability factor that will allow us to start pushing this to the market. At that time, when we pull the trigger and with the plans that we already have in 2024, I have very strong belief that you guys will start seeing a stronger user base. You will start seeing more eyeballs on the project. And it just needs to come to the place where we're comfortable to pull that trigger. Because, there's a lot of traditional stuff that we can do and that we've done in the past, whether it's, advertising, whether it's working with KOLs, whether it's working with, social media, or our own content team, excuse me. These are going to be foundational, but we really believe in the future of not only one AI, but also intellectual property and how it pertains to the metaverse. After operating in this space for 18 plus months, 24 months, it's become very apparent to us that intellectual property, the access to media, you can already see what we're doing with spaces here. The access to media and the conversations that are created around media, whether that's going to be video or ideas or just imagery or voice or text. A lot of that has to do with the intellectual property that people have access to and how they can use that. And we believe in what will be one of the core functions of our marketing strategy going forward will be the built-in audience that exists with global intellectual property. So that's going to be very key to our marketing strategy going forward. And when I'm talking about the ideas of how this works, you start thinking about the people that we could possibly partner with that have access to a lot or own a lot of intellectual property and how many people already watch it. So they're going to be looking for new mediums to be able to digest and to consume this kind of information in the new world with the new technology. And so that is going to be a key element to our marketing strategy. And guys, just keep your eyes open for that because there's some really, really exciting things that are coming here very soon.
Incredible. Speaking of sort of growth and partnerships, or maybe share some insight, Jeremy, about how you think corporations and brands like a Nike, an Amazon, McDonald's, etc. How would an organization like that utilize Everdome to generate revenue in a unique way that they have not been able to do otherwise?
Yeah. When you start looking at how the corporate brands are going to, engage with, let's say Web3 as a whole, but if I scale it back and say just the metaverse, the consumer facing aspect of Web3 in this case, then you're really going to have to look at how the industry will develop over time, because it's going to take a critical mass for corporations of that size to start adding a Web3 strategy and a metaverse strategy to their line item of their checklist for what they want to do in sales and marketing. So once it gets to that critical mass, then I think we're going to start seeing a lot better adoption towards products like ours. What does that mean? Things that you guys have already heard thousands of times from a lot of projects, lowering the barrier to entry. People have to understand they don't need to know the difference between Web 2 and Web 3. The consumer facing and the business facing front end of all this kind of stuff needs to be fluid. It needs to be able to flow. So until we hit that, until we can make the products such as ours so that they're very easy to use, one of the reasons that we've rolled out Metaverse-as-a-Service in this case is, something that people are very familiar with, especially when it comes, software as a service. It's easy just to jump on and start using. But once we hit that critical mass, the bigger organizations are going to jump in. Now, there's one of, probably 2-3 different things that they're going to be looking to do. Some brands, even like a McDonald's, they do a lot of brand placement. Everybody knows who they are. It's going to be very difficult to sell Happy Meals in the metaverse. But what they do like to do is they do like to go after, and Nike's big for this too, they do like to go after a younger audience. They do like to go after a technology-friendly audience. And so product placement is going to be a huge part of the future of these major corporations. So part of their marketing strategy is going to be reaching new audiences that exist inside Web3 and i.e. the metaverse. Going forward, I think phase 2 of that is going to be, all right, how are we going to take the eyeballs that are generated within this ecosystem, not just ours, but let's talk about the entire Web3 ecosystem, and how are we going to turn those into some kind of an ROI if we're talking about extra revenue? And I think that's going to come down to very specific conversations with individual companies and kind of what their bottom line is. What is it that they're looking to get back? We have run some campaigns in the past. We've done bigger deals with we've pushed with Alfa Romeo. We did one with OKX as well, and so it's very important. What are they looking to deliver to their audiences? Are they looking to drive visibility? Are they looking to drive dollars and cents? And at the end of the day, that conversation is going to be, all right, can we sell your product? If so, here's the audience. This is the audience that's right for your kind of product. And yes, we can deliver this kind of ROI, but it's going to be individual to each kind of brand that comes into the metaverse.
So ultimately customization based on the potential client that's standing in front of us saying, hey, we want to utilize something like this.
I think customization for a bigger kind of strategy. But again, this is what Metaverse-as-a-Service is trying to accomplish. We're trying to provide very simple tools and an ecosystem that they can jump in very easily to test it out. So right now you guys are standing in the alpha version. It has limited engagement. It has a very, alpha focus right now. And that's okay. That's what we want to do, because the idea is to deliver something that is very simple to use and then build upon that from there. And what we're going to be able to do with this kind of strategy is we're going to be able to add engagement and features that people start to pick up on, and we start to see feedback in real time. So we know if they're valuable or not. So as we add, we have chat already. As you see behind me, we have video. Now we already have our first NFT inside Everdome. Streaming is on the plate for the future as well. The possibilities right now, everyone thinks that the metaverse is a closed off ecosystem where you have to be standing inside, say, this room right now for this AMA. But imagine we were doing this and we were streaming it straight out to YouTube. So everybody else that isn't inside this room can actually view it. These are the kind of features and elements that we need to be able to deliver in a very simple format so that when people see it, they go, I got it. This makes sense. This is easy to use. And that's what Metaverse-as-a-Service for us is as a platform.
Amazing. Speaking of spaces, given this is the first AMA in spaces, we've received a number of questions about, what else can spaces be utilized for? Where do you see it going? What's the appeal here? Maybe let us in on what your thoughts are for spaces overall.
Yeah, so man, the sky's the limit when it comes to this idea. I don't know how many creative sessions we've had when we've sat around and we've talked about what do we want to deliver with spaces. Again, it's a fundamental concept of a space, and the name spaces, which is actually just the area that we're standing in, just a physical space, needs to be taken to a place where everything can be kind of swapped out or exchanged, or it needs to have feature sets, it needs to have different skins, it needs to have different rooms, so that we provide to the people, to the users or businesses or creators, the different elements of what they need to be able to get their idea across, their vision, their media, their products. And so the idea for us for Spaces is to be able to deliver, one, the concept and the idea, two, deliver the building blocks and all the features that go along with it, so that you can start creating what you want from this space, so that we're not the ones driving the direction of how your space is going to look in the end. There will be, maybe a set configuration of different rooms. So we have this viewing room, then maybe we would have a music room, or, we have plans to deliver, say, a movie theater in the future where you can have a lot more people in, you can run movie times. This can also turn into an AMA space. So instead of, just standing here in this room, we can have a big kind of auditorium where hundreds of people could possibly be allowed in. The sky's kind of the limit on the spaces that we want. And again, that's why we're rolling things out the way that we are, because we want to be able to get feedback in real time as to its applicability, so that we don't just dump, 20 to 30 spaces and find out that we spent a lot of time developing and the space doesn't make any sense. So it's really about getting feedback from the community, from the users. What kind of spaces do you need to be able to do what you want to do inside the metaverse?
Well, speaking of users, I'm going to move over slightly to user data and the usage of spaces. I think some of the general questions have been around, how is Spaces done so far? Since we've launched it, what has been the reaction? How have we seen people utilize it? Can you maybe share some information on the success rate of Spaces?
Yeah. So look, we track as much as we can in the early stages while we're developing spaces. And so some of the early numbers, as you guys saw, when we were pushing it out, were very promising. We were giving away free access to spaces. I know there's already been something like 300 or 400 spaces created. It's more than like 5 to 7 a day that are being pushed out. This is really important data for us, because right now, and I think I saw somewhere there was another question about this too. When it comes to the target audience, we're really focused on the creator community. So people that are going to come in and they're going to spin up spaces. So our first metric of success is really finding out, are people creating spaces? How difficult is it to create a space? Can you come in? Does it go down? Does it take too much time? Do the features that we have built into it, do they work? And so what we're starting to see now is that creating a space is getting easier with, each new launch, and that more spaces are starting to be created. Now, until we actually start, pushing the marketing campaigns for the end users, using our partners to get the name out there, to start, bringing, as I had said before, the followers of the intellectual property and the media that we want to use and partner with in the future, we're not going to really start seeing that huge user pickup. But that's okay, because at this stage in the alpha phase, we want to make sure that we get the technology correct, that people are creating spaces, that it makes sense, that the features that we're putting in place really do provide value for everyone. So early numbers, I think, we're very positive. It's exciting to see like 5 to 7 spaces a day. That's a great kickoff without any major marketing. We're using just our own organic, social media channels and such like that. We're not pushing anything beyond that.
Absolutely. And I think it speaks to the creativity of some of the folks who've already started utilizing spaces and where it can potentially go. I mean, you mentioned it a little bit already about, when we have our creative sessions to figure out or to think about where we would want spaces to go. You just imagine when you have our community involved in a process like that and where all the different ideas can come from, it's almost infinite what we could do with spaces. How would you encourage people to use spaces? You talked about doing it organically. How do you want to encourage people to start using it more regularly?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're a community-based project. And so in the beginning, it's really about, like I said, the feedback. So creating your own spaces, visiting other people's spaces, and providing us feedback on the chats. That's really what we're looking for at this point, until we go into, major growth phase where we start looking at user adoption and creator adoption. Until that point, feedback is essential. We need to understand where the issues are. We need to understand, what you guys really like, what you don't like. And I think that's what I would say right now at this point. That's what we're really looking for. When we go into that phase where we're going to start going after users and start, appealing to creators to start using this on a wider scale, there's going to be further engagement features. There's going to be just usability features. As I had said at the beginning, we're going to start looking at the implementation of artificial intelligence as well. And these are the kind of things that naturally, I believe, are going to push this product to the absolute next level. I'm not saying it's going to be organic, the growth, but I think some of the things that we have in mind and some of the plans that we have are going to really, raise some eyes. They're really going to get the interest of other people. So until that time, let's make sure that we have a positive feedback loop. I don't mean just positive feedback, but all feedback, but a strong feedback loop between all the users, all the creators, and the team that's building.
And I liked how you talked about feedback, because I think ultimately it's important for us that we get that feedback consistently and regularly, because that's how ultimately we improve the product for our community. So keep sending us that feedback every which way you get it. We'll take it, and we'll do our best to continue to work through those. Jeremy, I want to ask you a couple of quick rapid fire questions here, and then we're going to turn it over to some of the guests here in the spaces to ask their questions. Before I jump into those the rapid fire questions, remember, when you're ready to get to that point, just press the 1 to raise your hand, so that way I can identify who wants to ask a question. So Jeremy, will spaces have holographics and more interactive features, as well as perhaps different environments to hold their space? Because let's say maybe not everybody wants to be confined to a room, for example. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So obviously, being the early alpha prototype, just a small room is very early stages. We have some really exciting things that'll be coming here in Q1, where you guys will see a major merge. I don't want to give away too much details yet, but Spaces is going to have entry points or access not just from your link, but there's also going to be an attachment that I will actually give you a sneak preview right now. Not a preview, but just some insight that we will be able to access spaces through headquarters. And so this is something that is going to be very, very, it's a long time coming, and it's something that's going to be kind of game changing for what we're trying to do right here. So think about entering through headquarters, think about entering directly through spaces. Again, it ties into the marketing idea as well. You can promote your own spaces. People can come directly here, or we can drive people through the front door through the headquarters. So there's going to be some really cool things that come. When it comes to holographic stuff, we haven't really talked about that, but again, artificial intelligence is going to take us a long ways. So I'm really excited about the capabilities there. Obviously, NPCs in the future are something that we've always talked about, and it's something that we're discussing and we're circling around. So again, I'm just going to keep coming back to the AI topic that people seem to like so much, but it's something that we've actually started to find some use case for. So,
absolutely. I mean, I think AI ultimately can be a very exciting thing, because it opens up a whole new door rather of new possibilities and opportunities. Things that we may have initially thought would take us longer can now significantly be expedited. But that's a whole Pandora's box of excitement and curiosity to go down. But before we jump back into the AI conversation, I wanted to ask you, what is the progress of the Everdome marketplace and its headquarters?
yeah, as I had just spoken to with the headquarters and the merge that we're going to be looking at coming very soon, that's going to be a step in that direction, and that's really what I want to focus on right now, is making sure that people have that fluidity inside of our city, so they'll be able to move in between the headquarters and the different spaces, and some other things that we'll be pulling into the headquarters as well. So that is going full steam ahead. You guys will be seeing that very soon. I would say don't tell anybody, but hey, that's what this is all about, is sharing information. So it'll be coming out in the video too. But yeah, so that's where we're at there. And when it comes to the marketplace, this is something that, it will follow if it is something that we're going to do in-house or externally. I know I've answered this question in the past, and whether or not we're going to be building our own marketplace or we're going to be working with someone else's marketplace is to be seen. So that's all the information I can give you on that right now.
Amazing. Just a reminder for everybody, feel free to move around. I know everyone's sort of standing, staring at us. It's funny to see everyone standing, but you can move around, you can jump around, have some fun with it. Don't feel restricted to just standing in place. I promise you it won't upset anybody here. But while now everybody's jumping around, I love to see it.
Yeah, I'll even get over here. I'll come over here. We can change up the location a little bit, hey?
There you go. Yeah, let's do it. Let's move over to this side here. But while everyone is jumping around, can I start seeing some hands for who would like to ask some questions?
Nova Navigator and Yi.
All right, Nova Navigator, let's start with you.
Nova Navigator dropped his question. How many further masks? So my guess is you're asking what other kind of mass products are we looking at rolling out, Metaverse-as-a-Service products. Look, and if I'm answering your question wrong, please just let me know. So the Everdome as a whole, as an entire ecosystem, is our mass product, and what we plan to do is deliver features and eventually further products that will play into the Metaverse as a Service. So if you can kind of rely on what you've seen in software as a service and tie it back to Metaverse as a Service, they have a lot of different things when it comes to even analytics that you're starting to work at. We have to start looking at new ways as how are we going to track, how are we going to track engagement, how are we going to track the different kinds of media and the different kinds of activities that are happening in the metaverse. And for me, I see that as an entire Metaverse as a Service ecosystem. Now, I like to think big, I like to think visionary, but think of what Google did for software as a service. Think of what Google did for the entire internet. How they rolled out a search engine, then they came out with analytics, they came out with Google Meets. The sky's kind of the limit when we start looking at Metaverse as a Service products. We have to get this one correct. We have to make sure that we have the social engagement, that we have a platform that we can lead the way with first, and then we're going to start looking at what we can deliver on top of there. We've already, we've already back and napkins quite a few different ideas that we would like to do in the future, but there's so much room to run with Everdome as a metaverse experience, and some of the partnerships that we have coming up, some of the relationships and some of the things that we want to do have to really unfold to their fullest, and then we'll start looking at, okay, what's next? What can we add to this ecosystem? Because let's be honest, if you don't get the first one right, the second ones are more difficult to get people to buy into. So we need to make sure that this one works well, and we really believe that we're on our path. And you guys being here today is just credit to that.
Absolutely. First impressions still matter. Let's see. Don't forget, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll call you out. Looking around the room here. El Bizarro.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
So something that's on my mind, and it's been raised by the community as well, is how do we see interoperability working? How do we see this? What's Everdome's place, and how do we think to try and drive this as a company and as an organisation?
Interoperability is, man, that goes back to day one of the metaverse, I guess, huh? And that's a question that we're definitely tackling inside Everdome, and this comes down to some of the tech that we're looking at doing, as well as some of the platforms that we're looking at pushing our technology across. We all know that mobile is something that everybody wants to have access to, and right now in the metaverse world, you have the difference between Unreal Engine 5 and you have Unity. So if you want to play in, say, Sandbox or Decentraland and then come over to Everdome, how are you going to port your assets? How are you going to, bring your avatar? How are you going to bring your objects? This is something that is obviously very near and dear to the growth and expansion of the metaverse as a whole. And it's something that, as one of the participants in this world, we believe that is not only up to us, but it's on our plate to be able to solve some of these issues. So this ties back to the Metaverse as a Service products as well. One of the things that we've kind of talked about is how would it be possible to take your avatar or my avatar and go into Decentraland? Now, obviously, they're built in Unity. Is there a way that we can develop a tool that would allow us to basically move my Unreal Engine avatar over to Unity of Sandbox? Now, obviously, we've had some fun conversations talking about, a translator, an avatar translator, and these different kind of things. So it's a conversation that we're having. It's ideas that we're throwing around. How applicable they are and how easily they will be to deliver is a different story. But please keep in mind that when it comes to interoperability, we believe that that's like at the very height of the success of our industry. And so it's something that we're constantly throwing around ideas and actually starting to dive into how can we make this a real possibility. I know the guys over at Animoca Brands are always talking about an open metaverse. And this is a fundamental thing that we see here at Everdome as our core belief system as well. We do believe that the metaverse should be open, and finding ways to pass between these different ecosystems, different products, different tools is going to be a challenge that we're all going to have to pull together to be able to create. Because at the end of the day, staying fragmented, staying centralized is not going to work for mass adoption for all of us. And so it's something that we're all going to have to pull together on.
I saw a hand from, I'm looking for G-Boy Hugo. I hope I pronounced that right. I saw you put your hand up.
Yes. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Right. There's a lot of tidbits you guys have been dropping here and there about partnerships with, for example, UAE and the AISA initiative, but also the little tidbit you dropped in the WWDC. Is there anything you guys can share about that?
What was the last part about the WW what?
WWDC, the Apple presentation where the car of Alfa Romeo showed up all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, that was really exciting to see our partners show up in the Apple Vision Pro. Look, obviously working in a world where VR and AR are going to be key elements of kind of the delivery and the all-encompassing immersion of the type of entertainment and experiences that we want to deliver. That is something that we will continue to build in as well as we go forward. But in terms of the actual partnerships that you're looking for me to drop any names or anything early on, I can't do that at this point. What I can say is that we are in some very deep conversations. So the things that I was talking about earlier can become a reality. And so we're quite a ways down the path with these conversations, and it's going to be exciting. I'm not gonna pump it up or push it any more than that, but I'm really excited with these conversations and the types of technology that we're going to bring to not only Everdome but the entire Web3 ecosystem, and how we plan to leverage the entire metaverse industry, but especially Everdome, to be customer facing and business facing, to be able to enable and use some of this technology that's going to be created in the future. So rest assured that we will give you that information as soon as we are able to, and we will be pushing forward with that. So there's some really nice things that are on the horizon, and there's a lot of belief in Everdome's ability to deliver technology and the things that we've done to this point.
Amazing. Looking around the room once more to see if there are any other hands.
I'm not very good at rapid fire, by the way. I got to learn to shorten my answers, don't I, Samir?
Okay, so I'm not seeing a hand right now. Jeremy, I got a question for you on gaming, play to earn. I think everyone would like to know if that's in the plans to add an in-game into the Everdome metaverse, like a play to earn. Maybe just some initial thoughts on something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that comes up a lot, and I know gaming and AI are two of the things that are really pushed for this year and maybe even into next year when it comes to what's going to be really successful in Web3 and in the crypto industry. I will say this because we've said it many times: Everdome is not built as a gaming engine. It is built on a gaming engine, but it is not going to be solely focused on the gaming side of things. There will be gamification, there will be gaming elements to what we do, because let's face it, at the end of the day, we're sitting in front of our computer with our headphones on, creating avatars, and it does have a very game-like feel. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to bring the real life elements of what we do on a daily basis into the digital world. So we will be adding gamification. We will be adding some elements and some features to Everdome that do bring this in. Just to give you guys a little insight, we did have a play to earn game that we had completely mapped out. We were ready to move forward with, and it's something that we tabled at that time, because at the end of the day, when you're a business, you have to look at how are you going to monetize this in the long run? How is the economy going to work? By the way, that's a question I'll answer as well. How is the economy going to work for this, and how does this fit into your wider business model? And at that time, we decided, hey, this doesn't fit the vision and the direction that we want to go with right now. But we do have a gaming mentality, and a lot of people on our team are gamers, so we will continue to gamify a lot of the elements of what we're going to be doing. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have creators coming in, creating, sharing their stuff, sharing their ideas, sharing their vision, sharing their products, as well as brands and individuals.
You touched on the economic model. Why don't we continue down that train of thought?
Yeah, so I know this was a question that was asked. It is constantly asked, and it's something that I can tell you I personally have held back on releasing that economy model. At the top level, it's ready to go. Exactly what we're going to have included in that is already there. All the pieces are together. But as we're in the stage right now of product development and not the growth stage of actually driving users and generating revenue, we are pre-revenue company right now. We're really focused on use the product, make sure the product is right. Like I said in the beginning of the AMA. So I held back on the economy because I felt like it was a little premature. But please keep in mind, we do have that in our mind. And yes, a burn function is one of those features of the economy as well.
Let it burn. We have a very interesting question. And you can tell that this person has been a longtime supporter of Everdome because they're pulling some information from the archives here. The question that came in, and I'm quoting it as received, in June 2022, Rob Grin talked about having enough money to supply Everdome's runway until the year end of 2023. Can you speak on the financial health of Everdome?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And obviously, we're here having an AMA today, so that declaration was correct. With any startup pre-revenue company, obviously, you're always looking to raise funds, whether that is through traditional venture capital, if it's through partners, hedge funds like GEM, or if it's through the token themselves. I know there's been a lot of questions that have been asked. The circulating supply is going up. I just want to take this opportunity to also state that we do use different, financial vehicles to continue to fund the company. We do have a runway, and we do count it as a runway. We are a startup, so we look at different ways as to how we can fund the company. One of those, obviously, you all know, we partnered with GEM. We also do, when we need to draw down from them. We haven't done it in a while. We also, if we need to, we can also sell some tokens that are earmarked through our tokenomics for development. We also try to keep from doing that as well. So right now, I would say the financial health is good. But as any startup, we continue to always find new ways to either bring on investors or find new ways to raise funds until we get to that point where we start generating revenue. So there's a bunch of different models that we use, and we do that to try to make sure that it's a healthy ecosystem, and we're not just using one that would possibly that would be less beneficial to the entire focus of the project than having multiple different options to pull from. But rest assured, like the conversations that I said we've been having through the past here, there are people that are excited about Everdome, the technology, the community that we have. That has come up many times with people that we talk to, whether it's investors or whether it's users or technology partners or IP partners. They all say, look, you guys have a very strong community. We appreciate that. We like that you're community focused. So that's a big hat off to you as our community standing right here in front of me. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you guys. We will not change. We will continue to be community focused, and we will continue to share the information that we have with you when it's available to be shared.
And I think that's such an interesting point and such a valid point about the community. And I think this comment here is for all of you here today is you play such an integral role in this whole thing. And we sincerely hope that that's never lost or forgotten, because ultimately Everdome is a community focused project, just like Jeremy said. And speaking of focus, Jer, maybe with us coming close to the end of our session here, maybe we can turn it over to you for some final thoughts and remarks on maybe some key goals for 2024 and what you envision for this coming year.
Sure. And just real quick before we close it off, are there any other questions? Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Feel free after this is over as well. Look, we have these spaces. They're up. They're always up. If someone feels like they want to jump in, do another chat, let us know. We're happy to jump in. That's the whole point of this. Like I told the team before this, if we need to jump on Twitter and do a Twitter Spaces, we can do that. But that's kind of the reason we made Everdome Spaces, so that we don't have to use Twitter Spaces. It's kind of the point. So we could always jump back in here, but we could also do a Twitter Space if we wanted to too. But feel free to continue bringing the questions. Bojana, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
Yes, I had.
Ask away.
Okay, so I would like to touch the point of the roadmap, actually. So I'm following many metaverse projects lately, and I can see that most of the projects, they have a really big problem with the roadmap. You know, the people are pointing that the things are not done or they are postponed or this kind of things, And I was just like thinking if for Everdome it will be not better solution, for example, to implement some kind of flexible roadmap or this kind of things, or minimum like roadmap for 2-3 years, which are gonna not block you, because metaverse is something new, and there are some many things which can come across your way, so you will have free hand to implement it, and for us, it will be some kind of more transparent, so the things what I was thinking, like, for example, you will just add 2 or 3 points, which are going to be stable. You're going to log these points, and that is going to be for sure that it will be done this year, for example, The rest points, for example, it can look that they're going to be unlocked with the nodes that, for example, they might be finished within this year or next year, for example, But every kind of postponed or this kind of things will be noted, So we will can see that, okay, this is in plans and this kind of things. Plus, you will leave some kind of free space, where I can add some new things that you would like to do this year or next year, or what this kind of things, So I'm just wondering if it's not better, to implement, flexible things, because for me it's easy when some project has a done product, to have a roadmap and to follow that roadmap, and it's completely different when we can see that this project is not really done yet, and can have a lot of different ideas, which can. So that's all.
I think that's a great idea too, and I like the terminology flexible roadmap, and I think that's something our team is circling around right now. I know when we started the project, it was very specific about what we were going to be delivering about which time, which I think on the product side is something that we should adhere to. But I think you're absolutely right. It would be nice to have something that would be as you said, unlockable. So that's definitely some feedback I'll take back to the team as to how we're going to roll out this next roadmap here in Q1. But I think that's a great idea, Bojana.
And also, if I can ask 3 other quick questions?
Go for it.
Okay, so about the website, it's like we are still waiting for the updates about the team. So is it possible to do it as soon as possible?
Yeah, we're going to be releasing the new website here, let's say end of Feb, beginning of March. So you'll have everything that you're looking for there.
Okay, great. And when are you expecting, to open the Everdome for the larger audience? You think that it's going to be this year, or most likely going to be the next year?
I mean, in terms of giving people access, people can already access it from a wider audience. But I think what you're looking for is more of a like full-fledged MVP, like late beta stage type product. And I would say that we would be looking at growth in terms of, if we look at a calendar year, we're going to be looking at 2025 as a growth year. This year is really going to be about scalability, features, additional spaces, and a lot more functionality. So if we're talking about the actual growth stage of the product usage, we'll be looking at 2025 for that.
Okay, and people with the lands are very impatient to see our lands. So can you tell us something more about that?
Yeah, so the whole idea in the behind Everdome Spaces was to give access and usability to landowners, because as many metaverse systems are starting to figure out that, especially when you build an Unreal Engine 5, giving access to actually build or code inside a system like this is quite complex and quite difficult. So what we want to be able to do is deliver a feature set in almost what do I want to call it? A self-serve platform. So landholders will be able to create in their spaces their own type of spaces. That'll be changing skins, that'll be adding different kinds of functionalities and features into your space. And then once it's all connected to the headquarters, people will be able to move in and out of spaces in the headquarters. So that will give access to your space, to your land holding, whatever you want to call it in this terminology, once that is done. And that will be done this year.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands. Jeremy, maybe we can jump back to the your key thoughts for 2024. Tell the people what they want to hear.
Yeah, and this kind of just follows up on Bojana's. Actually, she asked the questions of some of the things that I wanted to talk about, so it's really good. Look, 2024 is really going to be a year about scalability, growth, features, and making sure that we are a scalable product and business. We have, as I had already said, some really exciting partnerships that are going to be coming, and this isn't the typical kind of partnerships that you would see. We're really shooting for the stars here. We really want to bring some new kind of ideas to the platform, and so this is going to be kind of different level than what you guys are used to and what you're expecting. We want to make sure that Everdome is a B2B, a B2C, self-serve platform, so that when people come in, you can go buy land, you can have access to your space, you can change it completely how you want, you can skin it, you can have all these different features, functionalities, you can at one point be able to import objects inside. Obviously I have to speak to our dev team about that and how quickly that'll come out, but this is the idea. We want to get to this place where it's not a drag and drop, but it's a feature-rich environment where you can come in and you can actually change it and make it your own. You can start creating value in your space, much like people who have Twitter handles that have millions of followers. They're creating value, and Twitter is paying, or X is paying them for that value. They're starting to earn from that. And that will all tie into the economy as well and things that come along. So those will be things that will be rolled out. But the idea is to give the owners and the users of the space and the creators of the space the financial benefit and the benefit of ownership in the Web3 ecosystem through Everdome as a platform, as a Metaverse-as-a-Service product. And then obviously, as I said in the very beginning, the introduction of, at the very least this year, the conceptual side of artificial intelligence inside Everdome and the wider metaverse ecosystem, and then access to intellectual property that you didn't have access to before. And when you tie these two things together, it's really going to make a strong case for how you're going to be able to create inside the metaverse and what you're going to be able to bring to your own IP, your own brand, your own ideas, and as well as Everdome as a whole.
Incredible. Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. Everyone here, thank you so much for joining us for our inaugural Spaces AMA. It will be one of many. Yes, loving to see all of these claps. We're going to be hosting a lot more of these going forward. So please continue to send us questions. Please continue to engage and support. It all means the world to us. And stay tuned, because we have a lot of exciting things on the roadmap coming, just like Jeremy mentioned. And wish you all a wonderful day.
Should we make a group photo?
Guys, yeah, let's do it.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Ready? Everybody looking at Ghost? All right. 3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.